Welcome back. Today we're going to study the hunters and gatherers tribes of the coastal plains. The first group that we're going to talk about is the Quiltakians. There was no one tribe called the Quiltakians. This wasn't one group with one chief. Instead, there were many bands that lived in this region together. They spoke up to 7 different languages, and there were up to 140 different tribal names. So in the political system box for the Quiltakians, you're going to write that there were many bands and no one tribe. Put that in this box down here. We don't really know a lot about their economic system. We can guess that they probably traded with other bands. If you're thinking about that many different groups living in that area, it's reasonable to think that they traded with each other. But remember, all of our history is based on things that were written down, and we just don't have anything written down about that. This area in pink right here is the area where the Quiltakians lived. However, they did not live in one spot. These groups were nomads, which means they moved from place to place. Just like the Tonkawa and the Atakapan, they moved from place to place looking for food. The Quiltakians did the same thing. So on your map over here, you probably want to just shade in this little area down here for the Quiltakians. The Quiltakians needed houses that could be moved because they were moving around so much. And some of them lived in wickiups, like we've talked about before, and others also lived in teepees. When we talk about the lifestyle of the Quiltakians, we have to divide it up into 2 parts, before the Spanish explorers came to Texas and after. When the Spanish explorers first came to the area where the Quiltakians lived, the Quiltakians treated them very nicely. They welcomed the Spanish explorers and treated them to a really big feast. At that time, the Quiltakians had everything that they needed. They had lots of buffalo and deer, many different kinds of plants, and so they had all the food they needed, and things were going really well for them. However, after the Spanish moved in, things went really wrong for the Quiltakians. Many of them died of diseases that the Spanish had brought with them, and also the climate where they lived began to change, and animals and plants became more scarce. During this time, a lot is recorded by the Spanish explorers about the Quiltakians at this time. And at this time, they were having trouble finding food, and so they ate lots of small animals. The buffalo had moved out of the area. They ate pecans, acorns, and also mesquite beans. Now, we have mesquite trees where we live here today, and you might have seen those. They don't grow very tall usually, but they do have thorns on them, and that might be how you recognize them. They also grow these long pods, which are mesquite beans. Now, they are edible if you know how to cook them. I don't recommend you eating them, and I don't recommend you eating acorns either, because if you don't prepare them the right way, you can get really sick. But these Indians did know how to do that and ate them often. One of the diaries that we have from the people that had moved into Texas records that they saw the Quiltakians eating dirt. And for a long time, historians thought that the Quiltakians ate dirt because they were just so hungry that they had not been able to find enough food, and so they were eating dirt. But that's not really what they were doing. They were actually using dirt as a medicine for stomach aches. Now, I know that sounds really weird, and the next time you have a stomach ache, don't go home and dig dirt up out of your yard and eat it. But if you've ever taken like a Tums for a stomach ache, that's because there's a mineral in Tums that comes from the ground that actually makes your stomach feel better. It absorbs all the stomach acid and makes your stomach stop hurting. And that's basically what these Indians were doing with the dirt. But of course, it wasn't just any kind of dirt. It was dirt from specific places that they knew contained minerals that would make your stomach feel better. In this box right here, you need to write pecans, acorns, mesquite beans, small animals, and dirt for stomach aches. The next tribe we're going to talk about is the Tonkawa. The Tonkawa thought that they descended from wolves, And so, of course, if they thought they were part wolf, they would refuse to eat wolves. Now, wolves don't farm. Wolves don't grow crops in the ground and stay in one place. Wolves roam around looking for food, and that's exactly what the Tonkawa did. The Tonkawa lived together in small clans. Each of the clans had a spirit animal that they believed guided them. So in this box for the plant gatherers, you'll put this right here. We do know that the Tonkawa did trade, and they traded with lots of other bands, not just other Tonkawa bands, but Quiltakians and Karankawa. The Tonkawa were very friendly Indians, and they got along with all of their neighbors and traded with lots of different neighbors for things that they needed. So you need to write these words right here on your box. The Tonkawa also lived in wickiups and sometimes teepees. So you can draw pictures of those in the bottom box. You can see from the map that the Tonkawa lived in the coastal plains right here and shared land with the Karankawa. At one time they also lived here, which is really more part of the north central plains. So on your map you might want to just kind of highlight this area of the coastal plains and then right about here. It's okay, it doesn't have to be exact. For the social system, you're going to put the words in these two boxes. They were very friendly, they got along with most tribes, and they ate very well. There were many plants and animals in their region. That goes in this box right here. Tune in next time when we learn about the farmer Indians.